Hey guys, Steve from Kawasaki Performance. In this video, we're going to show you how to install a pump wedge. You ask, why do you need a pump wedge on your machine? This is going to angle your nozzle 2 degrees down, which is going to get your nose up. It's going to improve handling and improve performance. This will fit on all Kawasaki models from 12F all the way up to the STX 160. That's 2004 to 2022. This particular video, we're going to be doing the installation on a 310, which has trim. All other models besides 300 and 310 do not have trim, so you're just going to omit that portion of the video on your machine. Hope you guys enjoyed the video. Like us on Facebook, catch us on KawasakPerformance.com, and check out all our other cool videos. Any questions, we'll see you. Tools for this job, we're going to need a number 5 Allen key driver. We're going to need a 10mm socket. We're going to need a small 1/4" extension, a 10mm wrench or ratcheting wrench, a long screwdriver, a 12mm wrench or ratcheting wrench, and a long extension with a 12mm and a 13mm socket. So I have our Milwaukees here. We're gonna make this a little bit easier. You guys can do this by hand, but we're gonna zip through this as fast as possible. First step here is to remove the step. The step is held on by 1, 2, 3, 4 screws, which we're going to use our number 5 Allen key driver for that. So let's take off the step. Just be careful not to damage anything when you remove the bolts, because this thing has a little bit of pressure on it and it'll swing back. It could smack your finger as well. The step is now removed. We put that off to the side. Now next is to remove the bucket. The easiest way to remove the bucket is put the bucket in reverse, and we have 2 mount bolts on the side here, which we're going to use our 12mm ratcheting wrench. All right, now our bucket is in reverse, and we're going to loosen these bolts here. Be careful when you remove these bolts. There's a little collar on here that you don't want to lose. Okay, the last thing for this is, I don't know if you guys can see this, there's a quick connect here, which has a little spring on it. You're going to push down with the screwdriver like this, and it's going to pop right off. That's this quick connect here. It's got a spring and you just push it in. Okay, next, since this is an Ultra 310, we have an extra trim bolt back here, which is a 10mm hex bolt that we have to remove. But this process is the same for 15F, 12F, 250, 260, STX 160, SXR 1500, all the same. It's just the 300 and 310 have the trim bolt back here. So otherwise, every other model is just gonna have one bolt here. So let's take this off. Steering is off. Now we have the trim bolt. Okay, make sure everything's free. All right, now we have the bilge hose in the back here. This is just pushed on, so you can give a little pull and it'll pop right off. Popped right off the back. Okay. All right, now we're gonna remove our nozzle here. We got 4 bolts. 1, 2, 3, 4, and I'm gonna remove those now. They can be tight. Two bolts out. All right, guys, we have our 4 mount bolts out. Now we just need to break this free and pull it out. Very straightforward. Okay, this is as far as you need to go to install the pump wedge. If there's quite a bit of corrosion on this surface here, you're gonna wanna scrape that out so the wedge sits properly. This has a little bit of corrosion. I'm gonna scrape it a little bit. I'm gonna use a razor blade here to scrape the corrosion out. So we're just gonna get in this groove here and just scrape a little bit. It's mostly gonna be on the bottom because that's where the water's gonna be sitting. I say that looks pretty good. Okay. Now we're gonna open our KP pump wedge. Also can view the manual at this web address. We have our mount bolts. And we have our wedge. All right, guys, here's our pump wedge here. Just a note, the KawaiPerformance.com logo always faces down on all pump wedges. Always faces down. So that's the thickest part, always faces down. So in that regards, we have that facing down. Obviously it's not gonna fit like that. You can't really put this in the wrong orientation. It fits like a tongue and groove, so it's gonna sit just like that. Make sure all the bolt holes line up. We confirm they do. And good. Now we're gonna grab our nozzle, which goes like this. Kawai Performance faces down. I'm gonna lay that on top of here. We're gonna grab our mount bolts. Install the washers. Okay, now a very important part here. Always put anti-seize on anything that's going to be sitting in salt water. So all this stuff is getting put back with anti-seize. Here's 2 bolts. All right, now we're gonna get this up in here. Hopefully you guys can see this. Just like that. Okay, we have our other 2 bolts. Now we're going to use our 13mm socket to tighten these down. There's one. Here's 2. Here's 3. And here's 4. Okay. A nozzle is installed now with the pump wedge. Now we're going to make sure that that bilge hose that we took off before, we're going to put it back where it was. You can see the fitting all the way back in there. It's a white fitting and the hose just slides right over, no clamp. Okay, bilge is installed. Now we're going to reinstall the trim bolt here. So that was our 10mm. That's this guy here. And like I said before, if this is a naturally aspirated model, anything besides a 300 or 310, this will not be there. So just don't forget that. You don't have trim on anything else besides a 300 and 310. Okay, now we're going to tighten that. Okay, that's tight. Now we have our other 10mm bolt. That's going to go on the steering. Perfect. Next step is to reinstall the bucket. The bucket isn't the most fun, but we're going to get the bucket back on. Here's our quick connect that we showed you earlier. And make sure that the opening is facing the hole in the quick connect. And it's going to go right in this. It's going to go right on this little ball here. So let's install that now. Okay, quick connect is installed. Now we're going to set this up over the bolt holes. Okay, and these are the bolts with the collar. Make sure that you reinstall the collar if it came off. Anti-seize. Okay, same with the other side. Okay, now we're going to tighten it. Okay, both bolts for the bucket are tight. Now we're gonna go back to our reverse lever. I'm gonna pull the bucket up. Okay, bucket is up and out of the way. Now it's time for the step, our final part. All right. So what I like to do, which is easiest, is take your extension with your number 5 Allen key and hold it on your bolt like this. Put a little anti-seize. I'm gonna get the easiest one first. I'm just gonna need the top one here. So hold this open. And you're just gonna screw that in just a couple turns. Okay, let that sit for a second. We're gonna grab our second one. And I'm gonna do the same thing on the other side. And I repeat, only anti-seize. Do not put Loctite on any of this stuff because you will never get it off ever again. Even if you're in freshwater, do not put any Loctite. We're gonna do the same thing on the bottom. Okay, now we're gonna tighten them. And just be very easy with these. You don't have to tighten them much. Okay, our step is installed. Make sure step functions as normal. That looks pretty good. If it is tight or gets stuck or goes up very slow, just loosen the bolts a little bit and move one of these brackets so that it goes up properly. All right, so this is installed, and I just want to go over a couple things before we end this segment. Make sure to use anti-seize on everything, no Loctite. And there's a couple videos floating out there that show the removal of the ride plate. Please do not remove the ride plate. That is the worst decision you want to make, because the silicone on the bottom of this ride plate, that's going to add an extra 3 hours to this job and a $40 bottle of silicone. So you cannot use any regular bath silicone. It has to be marine silicone, and it's expensive. So please do not remove the ride plate. Please follow the steps that we included in this video.